So here we are in the August 1191, and we just finished that September to mid-October. Onward Christian Soldiers, Barbarossa scenario. So far, we finally got all the Crusaders on the board. Richard came in and failed at an attempt to take Acre on his own. Philip, not Henry, I said Henry in the last video at the end, I think. Towards the end, is hanging out outside Jerusalem, starving. There was a truce, which didn't really fuck anything up. It was like the last thing of the turn, I think. The only real question is, like much in this game, it had some rules implications. Saladin's got a large army camped out in Jericho, where he can interfere. He can probably keep Philip from taking Jerusalem. He probably can't keep Richard and Philip from doing it. But in terms of points, I don't know if they need to take Jerusalem. And in fact, it might be easier to try to plow up to Damascus or something, which is worth a shit ton of points. The thing with Jerusalem is it's an auto victory and I'd be able to get out of the game early. Which might not be that great because I haven't read the rules to the next thing fully yet. Downstairs, I was ready to hang it up, and I still am. I got my microwave heating up my tea, and I'm boiling another pot. But I thought about something that I wanted to highlight. Yes, I've talked about how Acre's unimportant in this game, and in fact, the Crusaders actually don't want to take it. There's a real problem with this. Beyond just, hey, historically they found it necessary. The game doesn't reflect why it was so important. There's the naval deepwater port, and there's the supply capability. And the game doesn't really rely on the fact that taking Acre was kind of important. That it was, that the supplies coming through something like Acre would have allowed for a better, longer term habitation. That not taking Acre would pretty much mean Jerusalem was untenable, right? I have Caesarea. That could have easily fallen. Tyre, again, not really. That can easily be cut off because of the nature of how Tyre is, that you can't really, it's basically an island. You can't really shift stuff out of Tyre using the port capability there without using other boats to get things elsewhere. I don't know if it's already not an island by this point. There was the peninsula that Alexander sent out, built going towards Tyre. We handled that in the Art of Siege, and I may have had something else that handles Tyre as well. But it probably had already formed there. But you're talking about what's essentially a causeway going to the land. It's not the kind of, I don't know, because it may have spilled out over that and started becoming more important elsewhere, so that there was enough wall that you could kind of utilize it as a supply source without it just being plugged up very, very easily. All right, my microwave is yelling for me. It is a pretty day on Monday. I should do something. It's like early afternoon. I don't want to go on another big walk. My legs still hurt, my shins even. Which feels funny given that I didn't do anything heavy exertion-wise. I think it's, but anyhow, I may just do a little walk around the neighborhood or something. I've got other stuff I probably should do, but like if I ever do something, I almost always mention it on video. Otherwise, I'm just like, sitting in front of my computer fucking around. I wanted to sneak another turn in because I feel like I've been neglecting the game. So let's start that. It feels a little fucked up is, let me get rid of this. And it has to do with the chit selection and everything. These damn navies, I've got to spend one of my actions to have a chance, or in the case of the Crusaders, to guarantee, because they got the initiative, that I can move my fleets. The only way I guarantee is on that first action, which isn't a big deal for the most part. But when we hit winter, because we are in places we can survive, but when we hit winter, we're not going to be in places we can survive. And then I have to arrange to move things. And in fact, the Muslims do as well. Now, the navies are of almost no importance, so it might be worth it just to let them sink. But it just feels so wrong that they just stay out there floating. Now, you could make the argument that I'm not supporting the navies enough and they go home or something like that. And are just out of the campaign. You can hand wave a little bit here, but it doesn't feel like that's what it's representing. When you start doing that hand waving stuff, what you're doing is you're putting some kind of explanation that you don't really believe. Anyway, what do I want to do? Yeah, that's a good question. Guy is with the Northern Franks. I think I just want to throw all my leader chits in, Richard and Philip, and hope for the best. But I have to make my initiative choice here, and what's important for me to do, it's probably not having Philip start his siege. I don't think that's as important as Richard doing something. Richard probably doesn't want Acre to fall, perversely, so he's going to try to work with Philip. So I'll put his chit first here. Now for the Muslims, it's just always the same thing. Grow some troops and throw Saladin in there. Richard slips around down this way and grabs Philip, which means I shouldn't have put Philip chits in there. I should have put Navy in there. Everything's under Richard's command now. I don't know what happens if the dissension thing happens. I don't think that actually sends the forces in different places. It doesn't specify it, but they can't be in the same space. So I guess, I follow certain general retreat rules. I took Arsuf on the way, but it doesn't really do me any good because I don't have these blocking points. So now I'm at 2, 3, 4, although it's not cut by the rain. Oh, yeah, it is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But I got nowhere else I can go. Haifa, oh no, Haifa's fine. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I can get supplies from Caesarea, which doesn't help a hell of a lot. It gives me, I can buy off one loss each turn, basically. That ends my action there. And now the problem is I couldn't get Saladin out of the way. I could take Jericho and Saladin might run away. Maybe I fight a battle and drive him away, but he can get away too easily and continue harassing. This feels appropriate. It really does. That he can sneak around and harass my position very easily, and I don't have supply from enough directions that he can really cut me off across the board. I'm thinking kind of in a sort of like the Siege of Lille type situation, except that in that war, I don't know if it's a coalition alliance, what it was called, was able to was able to keep supply lines on a broad enough basis that the enemy couldn't just cut them off. But here, it's very difficult to operate with supplies. I get a Philip, that's not going to do anything. I'll keep pulling. Next pull was a Saladin pull. I don't want to face Richard with 5 knights in a field battle. So harassment it will be. Managed to kill a grand total of 1 of the northern Franks, and that was it. The harassment is not as effective against Richard because of his 5 quality. That switches. Philip was a 3. That's a 2-point swing. I was at +1, now I'm at -1. -1 means I really can't run them down very hard. But I also can't really afford to fight them, and if they take Jerusalem, it's game over. Saracens get an assassin. It's pretty much useless, but I can use it to open this up if Saladin gets thrown back. I can't kill Richard. I can't kill Philip. There's no one else I really care to kill. They're all gathered in one place. They're not doing anything. Another Saladin. More raiding. Inevitable happens. Richard manages to get the Western aggression roll, so now they're attacking. And we have everything here, so it's 10, 20, 33, 53, 54, 64 strength points. I'm going to need to write things down, I think. That same problem that I had before. I think this is LLZ's, but I'm not absolutely certain, so I got to go look that up again. It's not on the sheet. Yeah. The force differential is 64 to 68. It's useful to have the numbers down. I think that's a 1-to-1. We make the leadership rolls. That's a flanking maneuver versus an E. The Crusaders are the attackers this time. They're going to be at -2 for that. The flanking, though, still lets them use their knights. So that puts me to +3. By the way, I don't have a choice with the Western aggression. That gets me to 13, which is a 15-25. Nobody's got 3-to-1, so it's off their own numbers. And I don't recall, is it 2-to-1 losses? I don't remember. I got to look that up. But this is going to be close to 2-to-1 for the required withdrawal. No matter what, I stop Saladin, though. That's the big deal. It's just, you know, the combat system in this is clunky enough. I have to look things up. They're not on here. And although you start making player aids too busy, I get grumpy about that too. But the big problem is the rules are kind of a pain to find the shit in. So the required withdrawal is where? See, here it retreats winners and losers. You would think it's here. I don't think it is. It's down here under mandatory retreat, which is under the same letter, but because it's bolded differently, I kind of like look to this and try to read this first. So yeah, it's twice as many, so that's going to be close. Again, there's this complexity because I think I have to do them as both as losing and then determine who lost. And then the winner gets shifted if someone did lose. Again, I'm making shit up, but it's the only way that it makes any sense is if you're comparing them both on the losing force, which is what they would get in a stalemate. So 64, what was I at, 15%? Yeah. Is 9, no, wrong way. 9, 10, okay? And 68 at 25% is 15, 16, 17. So they both lose those amounts, 17 and 10 were the losses. So neither side wins. Saladin's not driven away demoralized. It's a big enough battle I have to worry about the knight losses as well. I haven't taken those off. By the way, Saladin looks a lot smaller, but his force is still 51 strength points. So, you know, which means here, in a battle in which for each 10% of losses above 19, which the Frank loses. So I'm not going to actually lose. I only took I only took a 15% loss, so I didn't go above that. Final thing we do is the leader loss checks. I did them all. Had a few 11s, but nobody went under. That puts me on Richard again. Not sure I can assault. Starving, it's hard. So my choices are an assault, or I could attack Saladin, or, which might be interesting, or I can ravage. An assault would be at 10, 27, 37, 40, 45. The problem with an assault is it starts losing my own forces pretty heavily. 45 to 31. That's going to give me a +1. That gets canceled out because of Saladin. So I'm at like even on that. But the thing is, that is kind of the only way I can take this. I'm not going to be able to starve out a force that big. Right? You know, which feels ridiculous. So assault it is, I guess. And we get a crappy 1, which means we lose three strength points. And it's going to be a quick turn, it turns out. So we had a Philip Goes Home, which always scares me when I see it. But then I remember. Haven't taken Acre, we're safe. Then we get another assault where we actually get a success. We have like a 50-50 chance, so I think it's our best way of doing this. And then finally, we get a random event with a truce. The way I've decided to do that is not follow the rules as written, but what I think they're actually intended to be. So we will take the attritions and whatnot, because it doesn't. But this is kind of nasty because it means Saladin's stuck out here. Yeah. He had another chit he would have withdrawn. Maybe tried to pick up troops somewhere, but there aren't any. He didn't get his troop reinforcements, which would have been useful. And Crusaders are able to buy off 1 loss from Caesarea. Jerusalem got its buy off of a couple of losses. They only took 1. It kind of doesn't matter to them. Like, they're not going to fall due to attrition. Pretty sure of that. Whereas the Crusaders may fail due to attrition. Because right now I'm at 13, 18, 19, 20, 22, 32, 38. Go below 25, I can't take Jerusalem. Oh, well, I can't siege it anymore. I could keep assaulting it, but that's not really all that effective because they get their walls back. I'm not in close enough contact to keep their assault points at the level that they're at. Forgot to give Saladin his single loss. There we go. And that pushes us here into the rainy weather. And that's it. I realized I've been using the Second Crusade points, at least recently, on here. Let's take a look here instead at the Third Crusade points, because I'm not sure where I'm at. Acre, we did not take. Aleppo, we didn't take. Antioch, we have. That's worth 5. We need 26. Caesarea, we have. 7. 12. Jaffa? No. The castle Latakia? No. Tortosa? 12, 13, 14. Tripoli? 19. Tyre? 24. If I can't take Jerusalem, I only need 2 more points than what I have. So I don't have to make, and in fact, it's not worth going out for Damascus, which I thought I was doing. Here we got this star-destroyed cities don't count in the Second and Third Crusade. There are weirdness in the First Crusade. The Latins want to rule here. They're not just, let's clear the Muslims out. But yeah, so that gives me some interesting opportunities where there are some interesting things like Jaffa that's available for me to take. Not a lot more that's near me. That Jaffa is the 2 points I need. Acre in and of itself is another 5 points. But it's really a take Acre or take Jerusalem. Beginning to regret digging so deep into Jerusalem because Acre would be easier to take in terms of attrition losses. But then there's the big attrition loss of the French go home. Of course, the French are running pretty low. I've been prioritizing taking their units, so maybe not that big a deal. Anyway, I'm going to be gone for a while. I know that I have to do something. Uh-oh, battery did not charge. I'm going to swap out. I don't know. That's weird. This camera usually, I don't think it's ever had this problem before. Anyway, I went outside and it tried to fix my cart a little bit out there. I figured give me a chance to be outside. I got screens open and everything. It hit over 60 today. And I want to get some air moving throughout the house, although I ought to close up soon. I couldn't bend the things that are causing an issue. So my next thought was, okay, I'm going to try to remove some of the tire that's getting in the way. Well, that's a lot of work with just a razor, like a box cutter type thing. I don't think I completed one of the tires, and I'm just like, tired. Yuck, 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 tired. Anyway, here we are in the rain turn, mid-October. That's a partial problem because Richard has no supply route at all. He had one cutting around through here before, which, I'm able to avoid 1 per turn off Caesarea. Tire's too far away. Would it be if I 1, 2, 3? Can't go there. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. And Acre would work. No, it's still cut off. Oh no, Haifa's not a problem. Acre would actually work this way a little bit better than Caesarea does. I'd be able to, take 2 less instead of 1 less. It's time to, first of all, check for initiative. Who had it? They did. They get it again. And this is tricky. I want to put 3 in for Richard, but everybody else is with Richard. So I'll put a fleet in play. I'm actually allowed 5. Do I want 2 fleets in play? That doesn't really do me anything. I'll put a Philip in. It's not going to mean anything, but control vaguely matters. And I think I'll play the fleet first, because that gives me the chance to move my fleet. And we can shift everything up here near Cyprus to take out the Egyptian fleet. What about for Saladin and company? Well, I think just the usual. I can't see any other reason. Which means it's time for a big-ass fleet battle. 1, 2. This can't make it all the way up. It's not doing me any good where it is. Let's try to block the Egyptians' attempt to find a port and see if we can, because they'll probably survive. They certainly did. They're reduced, and now, next turn, the Saracens are going to have to make some sort of decision of whether or not they want to commit to a fleet movement or not. Just, starve out here. Because although they have lots of ports, it's got to be a deep water port for winter. Richard Chit. I think I want to try to storm Jerusalem again. I could have... Oh, can I afford to? I forgot what my strength... I forgot to have my strength, I think, last time. 15, 16, 25, 35, 38, which means I'm at 19. Probably shouldn't have taken the damage. Yeah, because I'm going to be at -1 instead of +1. I think this damage isn't there because I was at partial siege. That kind of changes things. I'm not going to be able to starve them out. I think Jaffa is enough points for me to win if we head there. Because the siege attrition, the siege assault at a -1 there's a 1 in 6. I think I got this because I got this. I think the difference is there's an extra ASP in there. Oh, do I want to go for it or not? My strength is weakened. Let me give him that ASP. I don't want big stacks, so put this there. If I go to full siege, I risk Saladin hitting me. If I go to full siege, he's at 28. We'd be at 13. We said it was 30 something. So we'd be at 0 again. And that's what happened. I rolled a 6 at 0. I think we do that. Because the auto win is just too tempting. And now I have a 50-50 chance of putting it in there. But I don't get it this time. I get a 2 ASP loss, which I definitely did not need. Germans aren't going anywhere, so that's safe. Plus, I'm in full siege, which means Saladin may just attack me. Gets his chit. Now, I could throw a bunch of troops in, but I'd have to get lucky. I don't want to count on getting lucky unless things look ugly. 36 troops here, they can probably keep their siege going. Like, they're probably not going to die due to attrition before they take it. Hard to tell. Every other roll, they should be getting a siege point. It does take 5, though. If I attack, it's going to be 50 to 36 now. which means we look here. Jesus, this is annoying. So if I wanted a 1.5, 36 plus 18 is 54. But it's actually more like 36 plus 9, which is 45. So I probably have a +1 for size. That's not sufficient. So it's on to the harassment table again. And I got to swap batteries because this one wore out really fast. Saladin harassments in a row. They totaled, I think, 1 strength point throughout them. And now we get another Richard. We decided to keep going with that 0. A 4, that means an assault point. We're out of French troops, by the way. They just have their knights. I don't know. Well, Saladin, I think I'm going to make it to Caesarea and throw it probably ravaged. Interesting. Dissension. The English ASPs may not combine in any way with any French ASPs, nor may French leaders lead English and vice versa, lasting until the end of the turn. Guy and Conrad are not allowed to be in the same space. French are allowed to be in the same space. They're actually, there are French troops. Oh, oops. Oh, well. This means that the French can't be used in conjunction with the English. 10, 15, 20, 24. That ends the siege. Big deal there. Unless, no. Yeah. The siege ending gets rid of an assault point. And things are looking uglier. I don't know what Richard is going to do. He can't take the French with him. He can't take the French leader with him either. Well, actually, that's not clear. I think by the explicit thing, I think he could take Philip with him. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to allow for that. That means Jaffa is of interest because it's worth victory points. Enough to win the game. And then, we can maybe struggle towards something else. Acre we could take through mere attrition. What's wrong? That siege is still in play. The siege is still in play because, and the assault point is still there, because I have the Sicilian Normans. So that gives me, the Jerusalem forces there. I think I can use those German troops. I would have apportioned things differently if I had realized what's going on, but how is this worded? Yeah, French leaders can't lead English ASPs, but there's nothing that prevents French leaders from operating with the English force. So yeah, we can continue with our strategy, whatever that is. Now, we're no longer pinned in here, so we go from a 0 to a +1. But a 3 doesn't do us any good, in fact, and no French are being used here. I can only take 1 from each, is the problem. I should take fucking English. because they can get annoyed. Strangely, the alignment of Conrad with the French and Guy with the English is not at all, I think that's how, yeah, is not at all accounted for in this. They were pretty much aligned and should have been treated similarly to one another. So that's the end of the line. This will fall. We now have access, maybe. Nope, Jericho cuts us off. This cuts us off. We have no access going up. The Philip counter that I drew, not able to use it because he had been used by the English. Oh, I shouldn't have been at +1, I think. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I didn't get anything out of it. So this will fall. Let's take a look at the siege attrition, which is not ravaged. Six and 7, they both lose 3, and neither can get rid of any of them. And I can take the French for this. Into the winter, and with 2 of my batteries charging, and this one almost dead, it's time for a break. Gotta find a place to plug this in. Long sleep in a somewhat chillier day. I plan to go out again and try to carve more of my wheel, hoping I can get it to work. And then I have a second one to do. It's hard cutting tires. I'm using a razor, and I see people doing it with an electric, like a multi-tool with a razor attached and stuff like that. Yeah, well, I'm not gonna buy an expensive tool for something so similar. Anyway, I noticed as I started sorting my stuff out that, hey, I don't have everything handled from the last turn. In particular, the Egyptian fleet is not at a deep water port, which means that I can only support 3 of the fleets, but that's actually what I have. So I'm actually okay. Remember, these support like 4 each during the summer, but it turns out it didn't matter. I thought I was going to have to roll lots of attrition there. But now looking up the rule, I don't. And it's time to start allocating. Let's see. I've got all these things to put out. Let's see who gets initiative. Crusaders did last time, so it'll be the Saracens this time. Well, I was in such a hurry to get away, I guess I forgot more than one thing. My camera, the battery in this one needed refilling. This should have fallen. I'm assuming I did everything else. The siege attrition and whatnot. I'm not positive because I missed this. But Paladin's picks, I don't care about the Navy. I don't think I can win the naval fight if it's coming to that. Saladin does not have a huge force anymore. He's down to 47. If we look at the Crusader force, it's at 8, 18, 24, 28, 30, 33. I think my best move is actually to go with this first, throw 3 Saladins in. I don't have any armies kicking around that are big enough to justify, putting a leader in to try to go get them or anything along those lines. But now we have to gather troops and or harass the Christians. And I don't really see much advantage. Well, they could conceivably win a 3 assault points before I get there, but I just don't see much I can do with this weak force. we were high enough, 30 something, 7, 8, 18, 21, 29. It's actually 30. I must have counted these in as troops. They look, oh, wait, no, there's these. 8, 16, 26, 29, 37, 38. Yeah. I just missed those. I don't know what I did. Anyway, it's more than I can break the siege with. Now, with these guys in full siege, maybe I just wanted to run up and attack them, if I can. Yeah, if I can break the siege, that's the best thing I can do. And they're in full siege. I don't know why they're in full siege, but that's what I chose. Oh, because I wanted the full value for the assaults. Confused from the prior games, because most things, it wasn't worth like throwing all your troops to try to defend a particular city in, say, the First Crusade, or in the Second, for that matter. But here, it is an important thing, and therefore the idea of like starving someone out isn't really functionally effective, because the more people you put into an under supplied city, the longer they will last. Something like that. For the Crusaders, I don't know what to do. I've got 3 Richards I need to do to launch my attacks. All my troops are with him, so these other chits are just chances of getting the advantage out of an event. But on the other hand, moving the fleets doesn't really help either. So I'll throw a couple of Phillips in, I guess. And I don't get the choice. So Saladin goes first. And now we're actually going to attack because it's a full siege. Don't want to give them a chance to change that. So we're at 48. I don't know what they're at. It was in the high 30s. This isn't great, but, well, they'll be at like 17 or 18. Let's check the leader results first. Unfortunately, it's fucking Richard. But he's just going to defend, and the Saracens are cautious. That doesn't sound good. Cautious to defend. That's a standoff. Both sides lose 1 ASP, but there is a continuation with a -1, which allows it to be more likely there'll be another round. Let's roll that. But there is not. Not with a 6. After a lot of nothing, the Saracens get a second assassin marker, which, I don't know what I'm holding 1 to clear this, but there's no one I want to kill. If I kill Guy, his troops go over to someone else. Oh, I forgot to rearrange these troops. It is of absolute importance that the French have these, and we're going to give the English the Germans. We'll give them the German commander. We'll leave Guy here. Guy is actually pro-English. Let's move him over there. That means that Philip is less of a problem. But I have no reinforcements. I have nothing to walk around and do. The only thing leaders are good for is moving troops around, and that isn't really an option. Now, I've got this in the wrong place. There should be a Philip there. All right, I'm going to break for a bit because my cold is bothering me right now, and my pipe is out, and all kind of stuff. Been away for a while again, hooked on mainly avoiding the game. I played a lot of my video game, didn't get to grind the tire down at all yesterday because, I don't know, somehow it like went from 2 p.m. to dark, you know? Without me really realizing. A new area of the game opened up, but that didn't really eat up too much. Mainly, I just was watching videos and whatnot, trying to get to the next time that I got a point that I could play the game and get rewards. Although you can get some rewards without. Anyway, today I went down, tried cutting the tire some more. It's a lot of work. I'm not getting anywhere on it, really. Like, I've got to take off, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 inch of the tire. Maybe not that much, but trying to do that with a razor, it is just not working well at all. So then I spent some additional time making sure that I couldn't find a wheel online. And I just can't find anything. I find hints of things that exist and whatnot. They're all discontinued. Many, many different things. I don't know. Anyway, it looks like I was in the middle of the turn. I still got the chit cup here. I guess Philip went last. We'll see if I can figure out what the hell's going on enough to play. But I'm through the base rules of what I'm doing next. Random event says it is actually the end of the turn. So this is a truce turn. Quite a few fleets have problems. These guys actually are okay, I think, because this can hold 3 fleets. Wait, Jabal is a fleet. Okay, so I've got that, and I've got the siege attrition and whatnot for whatever that's worth. But this truce thing prevented any more assaults, which is how the Crusaders are due to win. 1192, the attrition on the inside of Jerusalem is essentially unimportant. They can't be starved out. There's too many of them. The outside, yeah, there's a little bit of danger, I guess. I've got, what, 6, 16, 21, 24, 25, 26, 34, 35 is all I've got left. Between the harassment and the attrition, I may not be able to take Acre, Damascus, Jerusalem, any of the places I really need to, which means I'll have to return back and try to take, I guess, Jaffa, Caesarea, and whatnot. Or maybe head north and try to fix Edessa, although the Saracens have an advantage there because that's where the revolts are. Strangely enough, they won't be affected by any problems to the south. You can make arguments for that, you know. This is more recently conquered by them. But, I don't know. I guess it's initiative time. I don't know who had initiative last time. But it's going to be the Crusaders this time. I mean, it's the same either way. It's just I have like these protocols that I like to follow. Obviously, we want Richard to do 3 things. Do I care about my fleets? Yeah, kinda. Do I want Richard to go first? Yeah, kinda. So this is what we're going to do with them. And for the Saracens, oh, I forgot to give Saladin his, because he's got such a large force, and that doesn't matter at all. He takes 1. Again, he'll do the same as well. It's a bad result on here, loses a couple of strength points, and now it's Saladin's turn. I'm not going to go into the details of the battle. You've seen that mechanism before. Kind of interesting. Crusader aggression happened. We did harassments to begin with, and Crusader aggression happened after killing off, I think, one of the Franks. The die rolls were not good for Richard. He ended up getting a defend, over here, and the Saracens got, I think, a flanking. With them attacking, it's a -2. There's a 1-point size differential, so we're at -3. But the key thing is the knights don't come into play because it's not the charge. So this could actually be painful for the Crusaders. Oh, it really could. That gets us down to a 0. They take 20%. The Saracens take 5. That's a big deal. That probably means that the Crusaders lose the battle and they'll have to fall back out here. That's going to break the siege. Oh, they can't. It's a full siege. Ooh, I have to look that up, what happens in that case. I think they take additional losses. After a fairly significant loss, like 6 strength points, then you roll a die for additional losses if you can't retreat. That happened. It was only a 1. But that's bringing the Crusaders down to, they still keep the siege. That's the weird thing. 7, 12, 15, 16, 17, 20, 25. But they lose 1 more strength point. The siege is broken. And even more importantly, Saladin gets to roll for a continuation because he won the battle. I rolled leader loss checks. Henry died. But we do not get that. I'm going to break right now. My tea's almost out. But that probably is the end of the Crusaders' chances of taking Jerusalem, to be honest. They can't afford to assault anymore. And they may be in trouble trying to win things off of the victory point cities. Back up here after not much of a break. I played 1 set of battles and listened to, brewed my tea and whatnot. Not much happened. We had a couple of event rolls. A leader ill. I went for Richard because there's no one else that Saladin really wants to knock out. He's not easy, but he's not that hard, but it didn't happen. Another truce, so the turn is over. Whee! And all that means is that the siege is over because we're down below the 25. I don't know how far we are. 2, 8, 15, 22. Which means these recover. Not that they matter. I mean, not at this point. And it's time to figure out a new way of coping, to be honest. The Crusaders have to figure out a new strategy. Taking Jerusalem's not going to work. Taking Acre is not going to work. So it's time to look at my points, see what I need, and let's, we don't have to look at the list, but it's easier with, this one it's actually easier with the list because we're just looking to get to 26 with 1 player. So Acre, no. Aleppo, no. Antioch, yeah, 5. Caesarea, no, but possible. Cyprus gets us to 10. Jaffa, again, possible. Karak, it's possible. Oh, no, it isn't. Not with an SDR of 8. That means I need 40 strength points. Latakia, I think I have. No. Sidon, I don't have. Tortosa, I have. So that puts us to 12. Tripoli puts us to 17, 22 for Tyre. We got to take like 2 things and hold them. All right. It feels a little fucked up. Richard gets sick. He's in command of the entire army. He can't, unless it happens on the first pull or before he gets an action, his army becomes completely immobilized at that point. Even if there are other chits in there. There weren't, but partly because of that. Like, yeah, conceivably Philip could take over Richard's command if Richard hasn't done anything. But if Richard did anything with any of the other forces, and all of the other forces did it too, then it's just over. Given the way the forces are aligned, I don't really think it makes a lot of... Well, it might make sense to split someone off. I might split Philip and Guy off. The problem is, I don't think I want to do that. Well, I'll put Guy under Philip for now. I don't really want to do that while I'm extricating myself from Saladin. But if Saladin ends up, having to go out to Edessa or something, that makes sense. Crusaders get the initiative again. They don't care too much about it. I do want Richard to be my first. I'm going to put 2 more in. I don't think navies do a damn thing. They might help in a siege, but I can just ravage instead. So I'm going to just throw a couple of Philips in, just in case I want to split the forces up. And for Saladin, same old, same old. Negotiations eating up the turns, I'm going to stick around here. And obviously, Richard wants to get away. This had gone in different directions. Again, I only put Saladin chits in there. I got Richard moved. He went, ravaged Jaffa. I have no chance of moving any of the other Crusader forces at this point. I can't split up or anything. And Saladin's in a position where he just got hit with a leader ill, and this one was successful. So he's not doing anything this turn. I mean, it's going to be another short turn, essentially. I'll eat up time because I have to pull the chits, I have to roll for the events, they probably don't do anything. Cut a little short by truce, but it doesn't even matter. Philip wasn't going to be able to do anything. Nobody's able to do anything. The only thing that's going to happen is events. We have some Ravager attrition, which doesn't happen, but he does take point attrition. Essentially the same thing. What else? I guess Saladin takes a point of attrition too. And that's it. This turn 2 points from victory. Not automatic. I think it ends here in September, mid-October, right? Yeah. Wait. That looks like end First Crusade. No! Next turn. Mid-July, August. Wow. So I got 2 turns. And it just comes down to a luck fest as to, like, there's not much I can do. I can resolve some troops into Jaffa. I might want to drop some off. Because I don't want my own, I don't want to lose it. And it's lost easily due to a siege, due to a ravaging event, in which case it just becomes, whack-a-mole. Maybe somebody gets sick, maybe Saladin gets called away or something. I'd rather pretty much hold it and see if I can get, I think the next one up here is going to be Caesarea. Do I care about Arsuf? Not really, because I can't pay off ravaging point attrition. Okay, back up here, forcing myself back up here from just stewing in my videos or whatever, watching news. Yesterday I spent most of the day watching SNL because YouTube's feed has gotten worse, and it doesn't remind me of things that I tend to watch on a periodic basis, and only wants me to watch what I just watched, the same kind of shit, So, like, it's kind of cool because it means things drop off, but I don't know. Then I feel guilty and I go back and I go to the channel and just watch everything. All right. So the Saracens won the initiative this time. I don't know. Next turn, I'm certainly not going to put the reinforcements in, I think, because I want to activate other forces. The real question is, first of all, do I want the forces from Damascus? No, there's not enough there. I might want to pull some of this out, because he can't take it anymore. and I can pretty much take all of it. Or this. This is all a deal. He's over here. The chance of me getting good troops off of this is low. I don't know who this is. Yeah, that's that. But it's, you know, it's not nothing. But do I really need troops? I don't think so. So I think I'm going to throw these in. Al-Aziz is the guy I have up here. I don't want to put him in. Now the question is, what do I want to do first? And that's a good question. I think I'll do a Saladin as my initial. Now over here, we get rid of the Ravager marker. Oh. And I definitely want Richard to go a bunch of times. But I think I want to break Philip out from him and have him go a couple of times too, because I'll have a better chance of getting more of these locations that I need. Acre I can't get, but Caesarea, Sidon, and then it's possible I could run up to Latakia. That's going to be really hard to take from me. So let's open up with Saladin. Now comes a big question with Saladin is, do I want to fight Richard? What might be my best move, because there's no victory points back here, is put myself in his way here at Arsuf or maybe Caesarea. Like I could defend Caesarea, but I could also, you know, come out and fight him if he tries to siege that. I only have, I don't remember what my points are. I think I'm 2 points short. Yeah, I think the Crusaders are 2 points short, which means getting in their way here would be a big deal because they'd have to march a long way. But getting in their way here might be just as good, because trying to come around this way would be tough. So I don't know. Let's to go for Arsuf because I can defend in the village and tie him down. I draw another Saladin, that's basically a waste because I'm where I want to be, and this is the problem. But then I get Al-Afdal, who also I would rather have come later. Conceivably, he could make it somewhere interesting. He can't deal with Richard on his own. He has very few troops. He gets a couple of continuations, really unlikely for him, and makes it all the way up to Tortosa, ravages it. That means he's going to get it. He still suffers point attrition. It's weird because the ravaged attrition is the same as point attrition. Being the ravager here doesn't really help you. The hard call, what does Richard do? With Tortosa falling, now I'm back 4. Say I hold Jaffa, right? Caesarea and Sidon are available to me, but it almost feels like I can't get them both. What I'm thinking is, what happens if I combine 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 17. I'm so overwhelmed by Saladin's force. I feel like I have to do the you know, I can't well, yeah. Maybe I have to absorb Philip again and just try to take Caesarea. Hope I can beat Saladin defending there somehow. I just don't see a way to take things because I can't siege anything. Assaults aren't likely to work very well against big cities. Little cities, I could get away with it if there were troops in there. Yep. I think I got to suck Philip in. And that requires a continuation, actually, because he was not defined as part of my force initially. But luckily, Richard's pretty good. And then I'm going to, try to make my way around, I guess, and avoid Saladin. So good at getting continuations that I ran all the way up to Tortosa, and we're going to engage in a battle there. Now, it's not a siege or anything. These guys could just run. Are they of any value? Like, they could win the battle, conceivably. Are they of any value if I have them booting around? Like, they'll end up withdrawn, disordered, let's say here, disorganized, and chances are that'll be their only use of the chit. So I'm going to stand and fight. All right. And this is sort of the edge of the game type stuff, right? There's no reason you would do this normally. You would try to preserve your forces in the midst of the game. But I'm getting close to the end of the game, just like the edge of the map type stuff. Weird shit can happen there. Weird shit happens at the edge of games when victory conditions, are stupidly clear cut. To some extent, I much prefer, although you couldn't do it with a game like this, the kind of Dean Essig, if you can't tell who won, it's a draw. And if it should be obvious who won if it's not a draw. Okay, so here I only have, wow, he really sucks though, that's the problem. I only have 7 strength points. First, we do the leadership checks. And the Franks are attacking, they're doing a frontal charge, which is their best. Oh, I'm using this one instead of that one. God, so many fucking charts. But they are doing a feigned retreat and encircle. So the Crusaders attack with this versus that. It ends up with a +2 for the Crusaders. This includes knights. So we go up to +7 because I've got everybody with me. +7, and then let's look, 9, 10, 19 to 7. That sounds like 3 to 1. We can look it up on here, actually. Yeah, it's 3 to 1. I don't remember what we were at. We were at 2, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ugh. 16, which gets us to a 1025. With 3 to 1, it means we're using their little 7 as our losses. So we're pretty much guaranteed to get those 2 times losses, so we're going to force them to retreat. Finish our turn after knocking them back, drop some troops off, and then run down and ravage Sidon. Conceivably, we could assault it, but the thing with we don't have to make a roll. What is our ravage chance? What is our assault chance? Because we had to drop some troops off up here, just in case. I don't know. 5, 10, 13, 14, 15 to 1. That would give us a +3. We'd have a +3 on the die roll. We would need at least a 4. We'd have a 50-50 chance of taking it. And we wouldn't be guaranteed at the end of the turn. So this is the only way we can guarantee that we're going to take it. It costs us men, but whatever. And we're going to break there because I'm almost out of battery. Almost out of tea. Hungry. A bunch of nothing happening. Another assassin showed up here. Now we've got an Al-Adil. Al-Adil has a fair-sized force, which he can bring with him. 18. I don't know. I'm worried that's wrong, but if I leave a few troops there, say 3 or whatever, it'll allow me 15. I might have enough to siege Jaffa. See, that's the thing. I've got 2 turns. I can either try to bum rush up there, and take what? Tortosa is as hard to take as Jaffa. So I think Jaffa is my target, because I really don't think there's anything else worth it. Lucky enough to get the continuation, which means we get to put the siege there. We still have to get lucky on the die rolls too, but it's something, you know? Otherwise, I don't know what he could do. I think this was the only option. I mean, Tortosa is just as hard. Well, Tortosa's already ravaged. That's the one advantage there. Maybe the end. Saladin just got sent up to Edessa. Let me clear this problem. I don't know if it matters or not, but I might forget otherwise. But yeah, he's up at Edessa with 10 troops. This guy with no command markers is here at Arsuf. And not only does he have no command markers, he can't command more than 10 troops, I think. It's hard to tell, because maybe he can command up to as many troops as Saladin had at the beginning of the turn. I don't know. Because this guy is locked in at the beginning of the turn, so I think he is too. So, yeah, maybe I've done that wrong. Richard is ill. That'll prevent me from using any Richard chits. Since I moved Philip with me, Philip's not able to do anything. But it doesn't really matter. I'm still going to get this. I finish up going through everything with a Saladin chit. He's not allowed to move. My mind immediately went to, okay, what do I want to do with Saladin? You know, do I attack Richard? Can I push him out of there? There's some chance of that. He's got a weak force, maybe, but no, I just can't do anything, as in so much of this game. All right, let's do the attrition. Forgot about just being able to pay off the siege, so actually Jaffa has a little bit more leeway than I thought. They would have to take 3 hits. It's possible, but not very likely. And I think that puts us to the end of the turn. This ravage goes away. And we're on the last turn of the game at this point. It's well past midnight. Some more fucking around, whatever. And here we are in the final turn of this. I tried to fall asleep. I kind of snoozed for an hour and woke back up, and I'm like, okay, I'll eat something. And now I'm awake, whatever. All right. This is the last turn. We have to be real careful with this one. It is a Saracen initiative turn. Let's just make sure about the points here. I think I'm 2 off. That's 5. Caesarea. 10. Jaffa is mine still. 12. Latakia is up there. It would be available. Sidon, 12, 13, 14. Tortosa, 15, 16. Tripoli, 21. Tyre, 26. Actually, yeah, we have enough points to win the game at this point. However, we have to defend things. Now, Saladin's way out in Edessa. That doesn't mean he's out of play. But he doesn't have a lot of troops with him if he comes up to intervene. I can afford to put 3 Saladin chits in. And we have 2 other people who have chits that are at all useful. Well, no, actually, we have 3. We want Aladil in. We might not take a Saladin. This, he doesn't actually have to do anything. He's hoping to win off of the siege attrition, but a ravage would help. So I'm going to put that there. Al-Afdal is up here without a lot of troops. I think Saladin can pick him up, and Al-Aziz, who's down here, might find himself able to do something, especially if Richard gets pulled off. So I'm going to put those in. On the Crusader side, the question is, do we want to split our forces? We have almost nothing. I'm going to absorb this into here. My 2 strength points under Philip aren't going to make a damn bit of difference. Take Guy with us. Put these in play. Does a fleet do us any good? Not really. I'll put the Phillips in because they may give me a slight advantage on the event chits, or if for some reason the Saracens put fleets in. All right, I got to swap pipes, blow my nose, and we'll get started on Saladin's turn. Pick up the troops from Jabala, recover them, and lay siege to Tortosa with a partial siege. Again, it's unlikely to take anything, but the heat is on. We got a heat event. We've got Richard. I could come down, try to beat up on these guys. But if I lose even one thing, I'm in trouble. And chances are low that I'll lose any one of these 3, but all 3 could be put at risk. However, if I can beat Saladin and take Latakia, then I'm okay. And I might be able to do those things and still come back. Like I could dump Philip off to watch Latakia after ravaging. Saladin falls back from his siege of Tortosa. Richard gets a continuation. He could keep going against Saladin. He has less troops. He has 11 to 15. I don't know what that works out as. Sounds like a 1 to 5, so it'll be +1. I won't actually be able to find it here. We're going to do larger and smaller instead of... we could do 11 to 15. And yeah, it's a 1.5 at -1. This is actually where this chart is very helpful if you can get on the chart, because the 1.5s are the 3 to 2 odds are hard to cope with, because it's not clear from the rules where the divide is, but I suspect it's between 1.25 and 1.75, including the low end. Hitting Saladin is not helpful. So I think we head back down now and try to fight these weaker guys. Are they weaker? Shit. Ugh. Well, we decided to pick on him. Let's go for it. This could be the game. Although any of those sieges are unlikely. Basically because we can't really do anything to Saladin. And we might lose in the town. Here we're facing something weaker. He's going to take defense in the town. If we can demoralize him, that's great. We're looking at, let's remember to use this one, a defend in place versus a frontal charge. Can't use knights. No, that's not going to be good. But I do get a +5 for that. 32, I don't remember what I was. 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 to 32. This is where it's not so good. But that's going to be a 3 to 1. So what was I at? I don't remember. Was that +5? It was a flank, not a frontal charge, right? Yeah, +5. -3 for the size. -2 for the town puts it at an even. That doesn't sound good. And a 5 probably not going to do me anything good. That's an extreme at -1. We get a 2. That gets us to, we take 20% losses, they take 5. They had 3 to 1, so they'll take their losses off ours. We're defeated. Also lost Richard on the leader loss check too. So yeah, we're forced back here outside Caesarea. Not a great place to be, and we get a couple more chits, but our forces are really kind of getting down to almost nothing. Just even further, the 1 point maybe not so big a deal, but the 2 knights by Frankish dissension. So I had to split Philip off. He still can't do anything. And I realized something terrible. Tyre is subject to ravage, which means that the Saracens can take that, and that ends it. Like, that is the problem. That was the weak spot. Saladin getting the next chit throws himself down there to do that. It wasn't clear that, you know, somebody else might not be able to get there, so, and I might not be able to drive Richard out if he gets there first. Like, if Richard got there first and garrisoned it, it would be a problem. Since I saw it when I did, I just pick it up as the Muslims realize this and they go for it, you know. It's not really a matter of, because of the randomization of the turns and whatnot, I don't feel like there's anything really cheaty about, or anything that gives any kind of advantage to one side or the other by my thinking, hey, you know, I thought of it on the Crusader turn, but it was at the end of the Crusader turn. Yeah, you know, it's just an opportunity that the Saracens were able to find. Richard chit, it's pretty much imperative for him to drive Saladin out of there. I can't win if that falls. Everything else is iffy, and probably pretty much in my favor. All the Saladin chits have come up, and yeah, if I can defend Tripoli or Tyre, I'm in pretty good shape. This may be the battle for the game, and Saladin has to fight him here. It's his best chance of winning the game. And he doesn't have any chits, so he might as well. So, we have Richard as the attacker. He gets a 4. He gets a frontal charge. Saladin gets an E. That's only a +2. But it does throw these in, so that brings it to +5. I have 7 to 15. That's 2 to 1. That brings it to a +3. Makes a 7. 15% on each, based on their own size. That's probably going to be a draw and they both lose, which means that Richard doesn't get in. But I'm not sure what happens with the Ravage if they're both in that space. It's also kind of confusing. Richard actually only had 7 troops. That means if he wins the battle, he doesn't lose anything. I think he only wins the battle if there's a withdrawal, and you don't have to withdraw. So the enemy lost 2 to 1 on the loss chart, which would then make it that the Crusaders would lose nothing. But there's one other aspect to winning, I believe, which is that you have to only if the army losing has a greater number also took... Okay, however, this applies only if the army losing the greater number of ASPs also took a higher percentage loss, which they did not. They both took 15%. So both sides end up losing then. So the Crusaders do lose the 1. And we're in that horrible situation that I don't know what's going to happen. Where Richard and Saladin are in the same space. Now, Richard can't cross the space. Saladin can go out any way other than the way Richard came in. But I'm trying to puzzle this together for what happens when this is starved out by the Ravage. Because I don't know. If we look at the attrition rules, I'm pretty sure that they don't say. Okay, it's going to be, Jesus, I don't even know where it's going to be. Is it going to be under ravaged attrition? If the city loses its intrinsic garrison, the city is immediately taken by the army that's currently in the enemy's city space. Rules as written, it would fall. Not sure that makes sense because the enemy army is there. And it's not like I have a siege or anything going on. I'm thinking here, was it Acre? I think it was Acre which actually fell while Saladin was basically in the area. That's one of those double sieges. I don't know. I guess Saladin will get it if Richard can't dislodge him. He has another chit. He might be able to do so. Some more craziness. I just drew the El Aziz chit. That's this guy down here with his 10 strength points. He's got to leave the rest behind. I can come around this way and hit Richard from behind. I could actually slip around and get in front of Richard, but that doesn't help me. Entering the same hex, I'm not allowed to coordinate with Saladin's forces. And it'll mean that if he was inside the city, I could. It'll mean that either way, I hit Richard alone. That doesn't sound very promising. Can I get all the way up here? The attrition's probably too high to do it on one shot, is the problem. Looking from here, it's heat. I've got 10 strength points. a Muslim. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That would mean I'd be taking 2 losses right off, plus a... Oh no, I want to get all the way up here. See, I only have a 1 in 6 chance of making it here, is the problem. So I think I'm going to just schwack into Richard and hope for the best. And that is... Oh, can I overrun, Philip? I think I actually can. But that's a stop. I don't want to stop. Okay, that's the whole problem. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 coming into there. 15 means I lose a strength point. I'm down to 9. I'm going to remember that. Doesn't matter that he's demoralized. He has nowhere he can go because he's trapped between 2 armies. He's frontal charging. We're defending. That's a -8. Notice the opposite. Wait, is he frontal charging? Yeah, he's frontal charging. Yeah, it is mirrored. Okay. So -8. Ten to 6 is going to be 2 to 1. That brings me to -6. The knights are in play. -9. We're fucked. It's okay. I don't think there was anything we could do. We get an X with a -2, which is a 2. That jumps us to something a little bit better. 20% and 5%. 20% of 9 is going to be 2. 5% of what he's facing is going to be nothing. And we're thrown back disordered. That Al-Aziz was killed or captured, I don't know. Not really too important here. Adil goes next. He wants to ravage. That's his best chance of getting anything. And then we get Richard, who does not have to attack both units because this one's out of his space now. So he will be attacking Saladin. And if he doesn't drive him off, he loses the game. So that's 6 to 13. That's going to be a 2 to 1. We get the frontal charge to an E. It's just +2. But it gives us our knights. So we're at +5. -2, +3. A total of 5, which can't be good. An X -1 ends up as 0, which is just a 1. We're beaten back and we probably lose ground off this. We're not, because on the losing, it wasn't 3 to 1. So the Saracens had 13 strength points. On the losing side, 13 counts as 2 for them as well. We lost 2 for our 6 strength points at 25%. That means neither side did double the losses to the other. So both sides lose 2 each. We're going to give that to the Saracens, though. Do some quick leader loss checks here. Ah! Saladin almost dies. So that should be the end of the game. It was at 26, but it's going to drop to 21 when Tyre falls. Feels cheap that I can take it over with the enemy army there, but that's how I read it, and it's not that far from what happened at Acre, although that was with a formal siege established. Hey, you know, I forgot to even roll whether the demoralized Richard, yeah, he would have been able to undemoralize. But both forces are demoralized. Both forces are down 2 strength points from what they are. That's where we are at the end of it. This particular scenario, weird as hell. You got to figure out something. It feels like it wasn't play tested particularly. Like, it feels like the game as a whole wasn't play tested properly and considered and developed correctly. But this scenario is the one that feels the weakest of all that I played. Now, there's the historical Third Crusade, which looks a little tighter in some ways, and it doesn't have, like, the big thing is the weirdness of what happens if Barbarossa dies, you know, on his, which is very likely because it's all over the fucking event charts if you're playing with that. So you can play with that as an option or not. But Barbarossa, and he can be assassinated too. But Barbarossa has a fair chance of dying if you're playing with the events that kill him. Like, he is going to die. And then the question is, what happens to his troops? And I made some bullshit up, and it left a lot of his troops there, and that made it possible for the Crusaders to do a little better than they would have otherwise, and made this a very close game, you know, down to the wire. If I hadn't fucked up, if I had garrisoned Tyre, probably things would happen. Let's check this as well, just for shits and giggles. It's going to be siege attrition. Ravaged. Okay, so -1 to the Saracen roll, +1 to the Crusader roll. Only the Crusader roll matters. They get a big 4 on the siege attrition. I can't buy any of that off. That was going to fall too. So we actually lost by a couple of, we would have lost by a couple of points with that alone, even if Tyre, which is kind of a weird situation where I'm not sure, that this is the intent of the rules, but it's certainly how they're written, and it made it more exciting, so there you have that. But yeah, the Barbarossa being able to sweep down, and then it really highlighted what's wrong with the attrition rules in this game. The fact that Barbarossa's huge army is best off, maybe not marching down all in one jump. What I did was 2 jumps because I felt like that minimized my losses. But it made big armies want to move fast and far. They want to march really, really hard. Whereas smaller forces kind of want to inch their way around and not suffer any attrition. It just feels like a bunch of bullshit. And we're going to see, we saw in the First Crusade, I complained my ass off about the attrition system across the board. Really, most of this game is just problematic. And, if you look at the old Crusades game, it had its little edge points that were kind of crummy. And there were parts of it that felt kind of dull, like nothing was happening, but it kind of feels, the First Crusade kind of felt that way anyway in this one. It felt like something needed to be done to fix that game, but something minor. And all the effort seems to have been on, okay, some of the effort was change the attrition rolls and make them far more broken than they were, to the point where I don't think they're fixable in this game. as opposed to the original Crusades. And then getting rid of the plotted movement and giving this kind of exciting, I have to say the chit pull and the activations and everything, it's exciting and it's neat and it kind of works if only the attrition system worked. And then the other thing I didn't like was that all these towns and cities are unimportant, especially in that first Crusade. In the original Crusades game, you could come up with some kind of bargain, where somebody gets Jerusalem if you get down there, but everybody else gets to capture the other things. So yeah. And you actually had to siege everything and fight everything. And the movement was relatively slow because you didn't have multiple chits per dude, and you didn't have continuations and all that. In this game, you can march down the entire coast in one turn without taking attrition if you've got somebody like Richard. He's kind of immune to attrition. That doesn't feel like it expresses his capabilities. Like, I don't feel like he was particularly great at foraging, like better than Saladin or whatever, which is what it kind of works out to be. He's just more active because he gets those continuations and he gets them off the damn battle capability, not off the chit, the number of chits he has or anything like that. I feel like the two numbers, one should be the continuations, one should be the battle, and the continuations should be pretty rare among everyone, but still a presence. I don't know. Anyway, the mechanisms in this are more exciting, but it's like, it's just so unbelievable. Okay, let's send this one up. It's 1192.